Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name's Lauren and welcome to the 10 worst books that I have read this year. Now obviously the worst books is subjective. Everyone has their own preferences and things that they like. So if I mention one of your favorite books, I'm sorry, there is not much I can do. I have to pick the worst ones, and there are always ones that just disappoint and just are not as good in my opinion. The first book I want to talk about is definitely a BookTok favorite, and that is A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I DNF'd this book. I think I made it about 50% into it before I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. If you don't know about A Thousand Boy Kisses, it is a YA book. It is one of those cancer stories, just like A Fault in Our Stars. It is very popular for that time period. This book did come out many years ago. It is also a second chance romance. The MMC, who I've completely forgotten his name, moves back to his home country and leaves his beautiful poppy girl, who was his childhood best friend, and then comes back to this like broody teenage boy. And I guess we're supposed to be like, oh my god, the poor guy. No. It had great potential at the start. Obviously there were times I was like, why is this child speaking a lot older than what they actually are? But again, that's probably a little bit more of a personal preference kind of thing. But some things were just still very weird. And it just was just not, it was just not it. But I think my biggest issue is the fact that this felt very religious, preachy, and I don't think that that really felt right in a book that really is marketed to a young demographic. There were times when I was just like, what is going on, and why is this like this? We're talking about 16-year-olds. Things were just not, I don't think the audience was really considered when they wrote this, when this book was written. And it is a unconventional ending. It's not a happily ever after. So again, this is definitely geared towards people that do like A Fault in Our Stars, but I am wholeheartedly, incredibly too old for this. I read A Fault in Our Stars as a child. It's not for me anymore. Then we have Scarred by Emily McIntyre. So this is a sort of like Disney villain reimagining, where the villain is the good guy, or like the morally grey but like anti-hero style, and you're supposed to be rooting for him, like the original villain. And then normally the good guy is the bad guy. So for example, Sarabi is the FMC in this, and she is being pursued by Scar, and Mufasa is the bad guy. That's sort of how this works. And it's like a kingdom style. It's an arranged marriage. Like Sarabi is supposed to be marrying Mufasa. She doesn't want to. She's seeing his dark side, and Scar is like pursuing her. Actually, a lot of people's favorite book in this series, but for me, it was horrible. I went in with high expectations. I enjoyed Hooked. The plot was okay. I didn't mind the plot. It was enjoyable, but the moments when there was a couple of moments when I went, oh, I don't like that. I don't think there was correct content warnings for like the breach of consent that there was. And again, like I said, it was definitely very much a personal thing. I don't like it when there is a bit of a consent element that is played with. He dropped a line, something along the lines of, you know, you thought I would stop when you said no. And it's like, when a girl says no, they should stop. I don't think I've ever read a dark romance where a girl has actively said no, where the guy hasn't stopped, from memory. But yeah, it was a bit of a flop for me. And then we have The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. Wow. This book was something else. This is a second chance romance where the two main characters have broken up for whatever reason, and then they are reunited on this like road trip because they get into a car accident together. The FMC is going to a wedding. They're both going to the same wedding, and they end up in a car accident. So they end up road tripping along the way, and obviously it sort of brings up a lot of the old stuff. But I also felt the storytelling was very strange, like the back and forth and the timelines and the jumping to past and present was a little bit confusing to follow at times. There is definitely like times where it toes the line of homophobic. There is stalking elements, which I felt was really unnecessary, and it just was not good. It was a lot of miscommunication. The MMC was just a soft cock for his best friend. like literally just like submitted to whatever his best friend wanted him to do. His best friend was super toxic, super like had like super toxic masculinity vibes. I was not impressed and completely appalled with how this was handled. Beth O'Leary is a fantastic author. I don't know what was going on with this book, but it was a major disappointment. There were occasionally some funny elements, but overall, major letdown. On to another book talk fave, and that is Archer's Voice. This could have been so much better, but it had major savior complex vibes, and I was utterly unimpressed. This follows Archer, who is the town, I guess, mute. People think he's weird because he doesn't talk and just broods around, but they don't really know his backstory and why he doesn't talk. Insert Bree, who was just moved to town because she's running away after her dad was brutally murdered right in front of her. She starts up a friendship with Archer because she can communicate in sign language, and so can he. Now, he doesn't talk because his voice was his like voice box was damaged in a tragic accident. Obviously, we learn over the course of the book how that occurred. Do I feel bad for Archer? Absolutely. Do I think that the story was enjoyable? I don't know. I think if you like Colleen Hoover, this is a good book for you, but I'm well past these trauma bonding stories. It was just not, I don't know how to explain it other than I was really unimpressed. It was really savior complex. Like Bree was like, oh, the savior, he's a virgin. Like, I don't know. I don't like these stories. And again, I read this back in January. It's been a long time, so I've kind of forgotten specifics, but I do have a review on my page if you want to check that out. The next book, number 5, is a book I will never forget, and it sticks in my brain constantly. And it is Balance by Lucia Franco. I finished this and I gave it a 1 star. I was utterly appalled by this book. Now, this is a toxic relationship. It's a series, not a interconnected standalone. It is 5 books, and I am utterly appalled by how popular this book is, if I'm completely honest. Now, on the Amazon version, the FMC is 18. On the versions that Lucia sells on her website, she is 16. Now, this is a massive age gap between a gymnast and her coach. He has a girlfriend. It's very toxic. They do things that they shouldn't. She's very attracted to him, and like, yes, she probably pursues him. I was appalled that this was written in the first place, and I just went, what the fuck? Knowing what we know about Larry Nassar, why was this written? And it feels really inconsiderate and really grossly unthought through. So I didn't like it. I was like, what the hell? And like, it ends really disgustingly with the other like both of them threatening each other, which is like, what the fuck? And I also need to read 5 books for them to be happy and like together. Like, it's 5 books of them being super toxic and him being an asshole. I cannot handle that. It's just not going to happen. I don't know if it's just me that feels this way, that this is grossly negligent. Writing this book is grossly negligent or what, but this is probably the worst book that I read this year, like without a doubt, the absolute worst book. Again, if you like this book, that's fine. This is not an attack at you, but I was shocked. When I finished, I didn't realize that. I knew she was 18, so I was like, okay, it's not horrible. I wasn't too like offended by it. Once I found out that the version that is sold on her website is, the FMC is 16, I was like, okay, this is not okay. This does not fly in my books, so yeah. And then we have Accidentally Amy by Lynn Painter. This is a boss employee closed door. Am I the biggest closed door fan? Probably not, but I also don't have to have it if the story is written well. This was incredibly cringy. This was like trying really hard to be quirky and current and up with the times, and it was just odd. I can't even remember their freaking names, but the MMC is a boss, a CEO of this company, and the FMC is like running late to an interview at his company, but she doesn't know that it's him at this coffee shop that she is going to, because she has to have the first pumpkin spice latte of the season, and she's waiting. Her order isn't coming. She's running late. Someone calls for Amy's pumpkin spice latte, and Amy is not responding. So our main girl takes it. She's like, yeah, maybe, and runs off. He's there, he sees this exchange, and then when she goes for the interview, or like starts her first day, I can't remember if it's the interview or the first day, he sees her, she sees him, and she's like, oh shit, he's gonna realize that I'm not actually Amy and I lied, and he's gonna be upset. So it just felt really strange, really cringy. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. I finished it and I don't know why. I should have just DNF'd it. It's very forgettable. Then we have Hush Hush by Lucia Franco. I thought I would give her another chance, try something else. This audiobook was included in my Audible subscription. I DNF'd it about 20% of the way through it. Maybe a little bit longer, I don't remember. But for whatever point I had DNF'd it, we still hadn't met the MMC, and I was like, I'm done, I'm bored. Can we move it along? My biggest gripe with this was that the FMC kept calling her best friend a rent-a-hoe because she worked as a high-class escort. This is your best friend, babe. Why are you doing this? This is gross, this is wrong. This is your best friend. And why are we using this term? This book came out in like 2020. Gross. Next is Vacation Wars by Megan Quinn. I really enjoy Megan Quinn's books. They are enjoyable, they're quirky, they're funny, they're cringy, but this book just didn't hit for me. I was really bored and annoyed with this book. These two sisters are getting back at each other because one of the sisters is getting married and keeps trying to set up her sister to go on dates with these shitty people. They're back in like this part of Greece where they used to vacation as kids, and there's a guy there that our main girl always had a crush on, and it was really odd. I don't like the dynamic between the sisters and the lying and the pettiness. It's not something that I stand for in books. I really don't like bad sister dynamics. I don't even remember why I didn't like it, to be honest. I just thought it was really crap, really cringy. I just was like, I'm so sick of these sisters fighting. Like, we need to like stop with like the pitting the women against women. I just was not for it. Then we have Our Way by Teal Swan. I DNF'd this, I think, at about 60% and went, oh, I'm so annoyed with these two characters. So these two best friends have been friends for like a few years, and then all of a sudden magic happens and he has feelings for her and he's attracted to her, but he's thought he was gay for his entire life, and it was just, so obviously he's trying to work out his sexuality because all of a sudden he has this magical attraction to his female best friend, where he's only been attracted to men and only slept with men for his whole adult life. They're really toxic. There's no trust between them, like particularly, like there's no trust between them, but particularly from the MMC, like he cannot trust her for whatever reason. I don't think they've ever really given him a reason to not trust, for him to not trust her. So I don't know what was going on. I got sick of their back and forth. I really wanted them to hurry up and work their shit out, either be together or don't. So I put it down and I won't be going back to it anytime soon, or ever actually. It felt like putting words on page for sort of no reason. And the last book is The Long Game by Elena Armas. I did finish this book. It was, ugh. This author is not for me. The Spanish Love Deception was okay. It was tolerable, but it was just, this one was just, I don't know. I have words to describe how sort of just annoying this book was. The only redeeming qualities was the fucking funny goat. It was very slow burn, unnecessarily. The FMC was unnecessarily ridiculous. The plot was ridiculous. It was like trying to make a strong FMC, but trying to make her unlikable at the same time. I don't know what this book was. These books are way too long, and it was not for me. It was just boring. I was bored. Really bored. Those are the 10 worst books that I read this year. Tell me what some of the bad books were that you read this year. Yeah, I honestly didn't have too bad of a reading year. I really had to think, I'm like, which ones were the bad ones? These ones were the bad ones. I hope you guys liked this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, turn on those bell notifications, because there is still some exciting videos coming your way over the next week, and stick around for those. But I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.